The sterile scent of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, a constant, unwelcome reminder of the battle being waged within the walls of Seoul General Hospital. Kim Soo-hyun stared out the window, the vibrant cityscape a cruel contrast to the muted tones of his daughter's hospital room. Little Hannah, his vibrant, spirited Hannah, lay still in her bed, her chest rising and falling with the rhythmic assistance of a machine. The doctors had been blunt, their faces etched with a weary resignation that mirrored the despair growing within Soo-hyun's own heart. "We've exhausted all options, Mr. Kim," Dr. Park had said, his voice low and somber. "Hannah's condition is irreversible. We can only offer palliative care at this point." Palliative care. The words echoed in Soo-hyun's mind, a death knell to all his hopes and dreams. He had refused to accept it then, and he refused to accept it now, even as the days bled into weeks, and Hannah remained unresponsive. He spent every waking moment by her side, reading her favorite stories, humming the lullabies his own mother used to sing. He clung to the faintest flicker of hope, a stubborn ember refusing to be extinguished by the cold winds of reality. The hospital garden was his only refuge. A small oasis of green amidst the concrete jungle, it offered a fleeting escape from the oppressive atmosphere of the ward. It was there he met Mr. Choi, the hospital's elderly gardener. Mr. Choi was a man of few words, his face weathered and lined like the bark of an ancient tree. He tended to the flowers and shrubs with a quiet reverence, his hands gnarled but gentle. One afternoon, Soo-hyun found himself sitting on a bench, tears blurring his vision. Mr. Choi, noticing his distress, silently offered him a cup of tea. "Green tea," he said, his voice raspy but kind. "Good for the soul." Soo-hyun accepted the tea gratefully, the warmth spreading through his chilled hands. He didn't speak, didn't need to. Mr. Choi seemed to understand, his presence a comforting balm. After a long silence, Soo-hyun finally broke down, pouring out his heart to the old gardener. He told him about Hannah, about her infectious laughter, her boundless energy, her dreams of becoming a ballerina. He told him about the diagnosis, the failed treatments, the doctor's grim pronouncements. And he told him about his unwavering belief that somehow, some way, Hannah could still recover. Mr. Choi listened patiently, his eyes filled with empathy. When Soo-hyun finally finished, he simply nodded. "Children are resilient," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "They have a strength we often underestimate." But sometimes, he paused, his gaze drifting towards a patch of wilting sunflowers, sometimes they need a little help. Soo-hyun looked at him, confused. "Help? What kind of help?" Mr. Choi smiled, a network of wrinkles crinkling around his eyes. "The kind that comes from the heart," he said cryptically. "The kind that connects them to the earth. Give me a week, Mr. Kim. Just 1 week. And I will build something that will help Hannah." Soo-hyun, desperate for any glimmer of hope, agreed. He had nothing to lose. He watched as Mr. Choi began to gather materials, bamboo, stones, fragrant herbs, his movements surprisingly agile for a man of his age. He worked tirelessly, humming softly to himself, his brow furrowed in concentration. Soo-hyun had no idea what he was building, but he sensed a purpose, a deep connection to something larger than himself. He could only pray that whatever Mr. Choi was creating, it would be enough to bring his daughter back. He clung to that sliver of hope, a fragile lifeline in a sea of despair. The week that followed was an agonizing blur of hope and anxiety. Soo-hyun visited the garden every day, watching Mr. Choi meticulously assemble his creation. It slowly began to take shape, a small, enclosed structure built primarily of bamboo, interwoven with vines and adorned with carefully chosen plants. The air around it hummed with the sweet scent of lavender and rosemary. It looked less like a medical intervention and more like a miniature sanctuary. Dr. Park, observing Soo-hyun's frequent visits to the garden, approached him one afternoon, his expression a mixture of concern and pity. "Mr. Kim," he began gently, "I understand you're searching for solace. But please, don't let this distract you from the reality of Hannah's condition. We need to be prepared for." He trailed off, unable to voice the unspoken fear. Soo-hyun met his gaze, his eyes filled with a steely resolve. "I am prepared, doctor," he said firmly. "But I refuse to give up hope. If Mr. Choi's project brings even a moment of peace to Hannah, then it is worth it." Dr. Park sighed, shaking his head. "I admire your spirit, Mr. Kim, but please be realistic." He patted Soo-hyun's shoulder sympathetically and walked away. Finally, the day arrived when Mr. Choi declared his work complete. He summoned Soo-hyun to the garden, his eyes sparkling with an almost childlike excitement. "It is ready," he announced, gesturing towards the bamboo structure. "I call it Hannah's Haven." Soo-hyun stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit. The sunlight filtered through the bamboo and leaves, creating a dappled effect. A soft, earthy scent filled the air. In the center stood a small cot, draped with a simple white cloth. Mr. Choi had created a miniature world, a haven of tranquility and peace. What is it supposed to do?" Soo-hyun asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Choi smiled. "It is a place of healing," he said. "A place where Hannah can connect with the earth, with the life force that flows through all things. The plants I have chosen have specific properties: lavender for calming, rosemary for memory, chamomile for sleep. The bamboo filters the energy, creating a harmonious environment. It is a place where her spirit can find strength." Soo-hyun looked at him, skeptical but willing to believe anything at this point. "And you think this will help her?" "I believe it will," Mr. Choi said with conviction. "But it is not a magic cure. It is a tool, a catalyst. The real healing must come from within Hannah herself." That afternoon, with Dr. Park's reluctant permission, they carefully moved Hannah to the garden. The transfer was delicate, requiring a team of nurses and a portable ventilator. Soo-hyun held his breath, praying that the journey wouldn't be too stressful for her fragile body. They gently placed her on the cot in Hannah's haven. Soo-hyun sat beside her, holding her hand, his heart pounding in his chest. The air felt different here, lighter, more vibrant. He could almost feel a sense of peace radiating from the plants and the bamboo. For hours, nothing happened. Hannah remained still, her breathing shallow and labored. Soo-hyun sat vigil, his eyes fixed on her face, searching for any sign of change. Dr. Park checked on them periodically, his expression growing increasingly somber. As dusk began to settle, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Soo-hyun felt a wave of despair wash over him. Had he been foolish to put his faith in Mr. Choi's creation? Was this just another false hope, another cruel disappointment? Then he saw it. A flicker, a tiny twitch of Hannah's fingers. He leaned closer, his heart leaping in his chest. He saw it again, a slight flutter of her eyelids. "Hannah," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Hannah, can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered again. And then, slowly, miraculously, they opened. Her eyes, usually so bright and full of life, were now clouded and unfocused. But they were open. "Papa," she whispered, her voice weak and raspy. Soo-hyun gasped, tears streaming down his face. "Hannah, you're awake. You're really awake." He squeezed her hand gently, afraid to believe what he was seeing. Hannah blinked, her gaze slowly focusing on his face. "Papa," she repeated, a faint smile gracing her lips. I feel different." Dr. Park, who had been standing silently in the doorway, rushed to her side, his eyes wide with disbelief. He quickly examined her, his movements precise and professional. "Her vital signs, they're improving," he stammered, his voice filled with astonishment. "Her breathing is becoming more regular. Her heart rate is stabilizing." He looked at Soo-hyun, his face a mask of confusion and awe. I don't understand it," he said. It's a miracle." Over the next few days, Hannah continued to improve. Slowly but surely, she began to regain her strength. She started eating small meals, she started talking more, she even started to sit up in bed. The doctors were baffled, unable to explain her remarkable recovery. They ran countless tests, searching for a medical explanation, but found nothing. The only explanation, it seemed, was the haven. Hannah spent hours in the bamboo structure, surrounded by the fragrant plants, soaking in the peaceful atmosphere. She told her father that she felt a sense of calm and well-being in the haven, a connection to something ancient and powerful. One sunny afternoon, Soo-hyun found Mr. Choi tending to the flowers in the garden. He approached him, his heart filled with gratitude. "Mr. Choi," he said, his voice choked with emotion. I don't know how to thank you. You saved my daughter's life." Mr. Choi smiled, his eyes twinkling. "I did nothing, Mr. Kim," he said humbly. "I simply created a space for Hannah to heal herself. The power was always within her." He paused, his gaze drifting towards Hannah's haven. "We often forget," he continued, "that the greatest medicine comes from the earth. We are all connected to nature, and when we lose that connection, we lose a part of ourselves." Hannah simply needed to be reminded of that connection. Soo-hyun looked at the old gardener, his face etched with wisdom and compassion. He realized that Mr. Choi had given him more than just a miracle. He had given him a lesson about the power of nature, the resilience of the human spirit, and the importance of never giving up hope. Hannah eventually made a full recovery. She left the hospital, her laughter echoing through the corridors, a testament to the power of hope and the healing touch of nature. She went back to dancing, her movements even more graceful and expressive than before. She carried with her a newfound appreciation for life, a deep connection to the earth, and a profound gratitude for the old gardener who had built her a haven. And Soo-hyun, he never forgot the miracle that had unfolded in the hospital garden. He learned to appreciate the small things in life, the beauty of a flower, the warmth of the sun, the power of a loving heart. And he knew, with unwavering certainty, that miracles can happen, even when the doctors have given up. Sometimes, all it takes is a little help from a gardener and a connection to the earth. The memory of Hannah's recovery became a cherished family legend. Soo-hyun often found himself sitting beside her in the haven, watching her practice her dance moves, the bamboo stalks swaying gently around them. He would tell her, again and again, the story of Mr. Choi and his miraculous creation, imbuing it with the reverence of a sacred tale. One day, Hannah, now a vibrant young woman, paused in her practice. "Papa," she said, her brow furrowed slightly. "I want to see him again." "Mr. Choi." Soo-hyun smiled. He understood. The debt they owed the old gardener was immeasurable. "Of course, Hannah. We'll visit him tomorrow." The next morning, they walked through the hospital gardens hand in hand, searching for Mr. Choi. But the vibrant flower beds he had so meticulously cared for seemed neglected, the colors dull. They asked a passing nurse about him. "Mr. Choi," she said, her expression softening.
"Oh, dear.
"You haven't heard, have you? He passed away a few months ago. Quite suddenly, actually. He was tending to his garden just as he always did, and, well, he simply went asleep." Soo-hyun and Hannah exchanged a look of profound sadness. A wave of grief washed over them, a bittersweet reminder of the fragility of life. "He didn't suffer," the nurse added kindly. "And he was at peace. He loved this garden, you know. He always said it was his life's work." They thanked the nurse and continued walking, their footsteps heavy with sorrow. They found Mr. Choi's little shed, the door slightly ajar. Inside, it was filled with the tools of his trade, trowels, rakes, watering cans, all neatly arranged. The scent of earth and flowers hung heavy in the air. On a small wooden table, they found a worn notebook. Soo-hyun carefully opened it, his heart pounding in his chest. It was Mr. Choi's gardening journal, filled with sketches of plants, notes on soil composition, and philosophical musings on the nature of life and death. As Soo-hyun turned the pages, a dried flower fell out. It was a rare blue poppy, its petals still retaining a hint of their vibrant color. Tucked beneath it was a small piece of paper. He unfolded it carefully and read the words written in Mr. Choi's elegant script. "The haven is not just a structure of bamboo and plants. It is a vessel for hope. Plant the seeds of kindness, nurture the spirit, and watch miracles bloom." Tears welled up in Soo-hyun's eyes. He realized that Mr. Choi's gift to Hannah was not just a physical space, but a philosophy, a way of life. He had taught them to see the beauty in the world, to find strength in nature, and to never lose faith in the power of healing. Hannah gently took the blue poppy from her father's hand. She closed her eyes, inhaled its delicate fragrance, and felt a profound sense of gratitude for the old gardener who had saved her life. "Papa," she said, her voice filled with resolve, "I want to continue his work. I want to learn about gardening, about plants, about the healing power of nature. I want to keep his memory alive." Soo-hyun smiled, his heart swelling with pride. He knew that Hannah would carry on Mr. Choi's legacy, spreading his message of hope and healing to others. And so, Hannah began her journey into the world of horticulture. She studied botany, she apprenticed with local gardeners, and she spent countless hours in the hospital gardens, tending to the flowers and plants that Mr. Choi had so lovingly cared for. She learned about the medicinal properties of herbs, the restorative power of sunlight, and the importance of connecting with the earth. She discovered that gardening was not just a hobby, but a form of therapy, a way to heal the body, mind, and soul. Hannah transformed the hospital gardens into a sanctuary of peace and tranquility. She created new havens for patients, filled with fragrant flowers and soothing greenery. She taught them about the healing power of nature, encouraging them to spend time in the gardens, to breathe in the fresh air, and to connect with the earth. And as she worked, she felt Mr. Choi's presence beside her, guiding her hand, whispering words of wisdom in her ear. She knew that he was watching over her, his spirit forever intertwined with the flowers and plants he had so dearly loved. Years passed, and Hannah became a renowned horticultural therapist, known for her innovative approach to healing. She traveled the world, sharing her knowledge and inspiring others to create their own havens of peace and tranquility. But she never forgot Mr. Choi, the old gardener who had built her a miracle. She kept his gardening journal close to her heart, rereading his words of wisdom whenever she needed guidance or inspiration. And every year, on the anniversary of his death, she would plant a blue poppy in his memory, a symbol of hope, healing, and the enduring power of nature. Soo-hyun, now an old man himself, would often visit Hannah in the hospital gardens. He would sit beside her, watching her tend to the flowers, his heart filled with gratitude and pride. He knew that Mr. Choi's legacy would live on, not just through Hannah's work, but through the countless lives she had touched. He had taught them all that miracles can happen, even when the doctors have given up. Sometimes, all it takes is a little help from a gardener and a connection to the earth, and the unwavering belief in the power of hope. He remembered the day Dr. Park had delivered the devastating news, his face etched with a professional sorrow that couldn't quite mask the futility he felt. "Mr. Kim, we've done all we can. Her body isn't responding. Prepare yourself." Soo-hyun shivered, pulling his coat tighter. The memory was a cold wind that never stopped blowing. He looked at Hannah, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the setting sun filtering through the leaves of the ancient oak tree Mr. Choi had always admired. She was explaining the intricate root system of a newly planted rose bush to a young patient, her voice gentle and encouraging. "She's amazing, isn't she?" Soo-hyun said, his voice thick with emotion. Dr. Park, who had been observing them from a distance, approached hesitantly. He looked older, his hair thinner, but his eyes held a newfound respect. "Indeed, Mr. Kim. Amazing. I still don't understand it. Medically, there's no explanation. But, well, I see the results every day. The patients, the atmosphere, it's different here. She's created something truly special." He paused, then added quietly, "I was wrong, you know. I thought we had reached the end. But Mr. Choi and Hannah, they showed me that there are other ways to heal. Ways that we, as doctors, often overlook." Soo-hyun nodded, understanding filling his gaze. "Mr. Choi always said that life is like a garden. You have to tend to it, nurture it, and have faith that it will bloom, even in the harshest conditions." Hannah finished her explanation and turned to them, her eyes sparkling. "Papa, Dr. Park, come see. The lavender is blooming early this year. Mr. Choi always said the lavender remembers the sunshine from last summer and uses it to bring joy in the spring. They walked towards the lavender patch, the air thick with its calming fragrance. Soo-hyun reached out and gently touched a delicate purple flower. He felt a profound sense of peace, a quiet understanding that life, with all its pain and sorrow, was also filled with beauty and hope. He looked at Hannah, her face radiant with happiness, and knew that Mr. Choi's miracle wasn't just about saving her life. It was about showing them all the power of nature, the importance of kindness, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. It was about planting seeds of hope and watching them bloom into something extraordinary. And that legacy, he knew, would continue to flourish long after they were gone. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. As they stood together in the lavender patch, surrounded by the scent of flowers and the promise of a new day, Soo-hyun knew that even in the darkest of times, miracles were always possible, especially when a gardener knew just what to build. The scent of lavender clung to their clothes as they walked back towards the hospital, the building now bathed in the soft glow of twilight. Dr. Park excused himself, a flicker of genuine warmth replacing the professional detachment in his eyes. I should check on my patients. But thank you, Mr. Kim, Hannah, for reminding me what truly matters. Soo-hyun watched him go, then turned to Hannah. He's come a long way, hasn't he? Hannah smiled, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. He has. He's even started volunteering in the gardens with me sometimes. He says it helps him reconnect. They walked in comfortable silence for a few moments, the only sound the gentle rustling of leaves in the evening breeze. As they reached the entrance of the hospital, Soo-hyun stopped, his hand resting on Hannah's arm. Hannah, he said, his voice thick with emotion, I never properly thanked you. For everything. Hannah squeezed his hand. Papa, you don't have to. Just seeing you happy is enough. But I do, he insisted. You gave me back my life. You gave so many others their lives back. You took Mr. Choi's gift and you blossomed. You made something beautiful out of something so broken. He paused, struggling to find the right words. I remember when Dr. Park told me that there was nothing more they could do. I felt like my world was ending. I felt like I was losing everything. And then Mr. Choi built that haven for you. And you started to heal. It was a miracle, Hannah. A true miracle. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. It was a miracle we built together, Papa. Mr. Choi, you and me. We all believed. We all hoped. She wrapped her arms around him, holding him tight. And now, she whispered, we share that miracle with everyone we can. A young girl, no older than 10, with a shaved head and a weary smile, approached them hesitantly. Hannah SSI, she asked, her voice barely audible. Can you show me the blue poppies again? They make me feel better. Hannah smiled, her face radiating compassion. Of course, Jiwoo. Let's go. She took the girl's hand and led her back towards the garden, leaving Soo-hyun standing alone in the twilight. He watched them go, his heart overflowing with love and gratitude. He knew that life would continue to bring its challenges, its sorrows, its moments of despair. But he also knew that as long as there was hope, as long as there was kindness, as long as there was a connection to the earth and to each other, miracles would always be possible. He looked up at the sky, now ablaze with stars. He thought of Mr. Choi, his gentle smile, his weathered hands, his unwavering belief in the power of nature. He knew that Mr. Choi was watching over them, his spirit forever intertwined with the flowers and plants he had so dearly loved. And he knew that Mr. Choi's legacy would live on, not just through Hannah's work, but through the countless lives she had touched. He had taught them all that miracles can happen, even when the doctors have given up. Sometimes, all it takes is a little help from a gardener and a connection to the earth, and the unwavering belief in the power of hope. He took a deep breath, the scent of lavender filling his lungs. He closed his eyes for a moment, allowing himself to be filled with the peace and tranquility of the garden. When he opened his eyes again, He saw Hannah and Jiwoo standing beneath the ancient oak tree, bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight. Jiwoo was pointing up at the branches, her face lit up with wonder. Hannah was smiling, her arm around the girl's shoulders, whispering something in her ear. Soo-hyun smiled too, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached all the way to his soul. He knew that everything was going to be all right, because even in the darkest of times, there was always hope. There was always beauty. There was always a garden waiting to bloom. And there was always a miracle waiting to happen. All it took was a little faith, a little kindness, and a little help from a gardener who knew just what to build. And the unwavering love of a father for his daughter. The circle was complete.